What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Here with another incredible interview. I'm so excited for this one. Here with David Bello of The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die. It's absolutely incredible, almost household name emo. Like, I don't want to say band. It's like more than a band, like superhero coalition of all these incredible people making incredible music. And they're back with Dreams of Being Dust, August 22nd, out on Epitaph. So welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the kind words.
Of course. So the first thing I want to talk about here is the album cover. I think you guys are pretty well known for having these really important, interesting album covers. And this one is maybe your most interesting with scattered images of this person and then with the names and everything. Who is that? Is there any significance behind that?
Yeah, that's actually my dad who passed away in March. We decided to use a couple photos of him that we found after he passed. We found those photos. We're not really sure who took them, when they were taken, where they were taken. But my mom and I were looking through stuff, found those, and thought they were really beautiful. I shared them with the rest of the band, not with the intent that they would become the album cover, but the rest of the band thought, these would make a really good photo, the set of photos for the album cover. We were also thinking like we would do something a little different this time, have more than one picture, have it actually include the text of the band name and the album title on the front, which we hadn't done before. So, trying some new stuff with also a connection to, history and our own history, stuff like that.
Beautiful. Well, I'm sorry for your loss, but I think
I
that
appreciate it.
that really makes it even more emotionally deep. That really makes me ask, is this album kind of centered around your father's passing?
Well, we had written most of it before he got sick and then finished recording it before he passed away. So it was mostly in the aftermath of making the album that happened. But our guitar player Anthony, his mother died. I had lost two uncles within the last year who I was pretty felt pretty close with. So death and funerals were definitely on our minds, and I think it kind of fit with what had happened in the past that influenced the record more
Mhm.
afterwards.
Okay, yeah, I think I totally see that with our two incredible singles. Now, Beware the Centrist, right? Kind of your
Mm-hmm.
big bang out into the world.
Yeah.
I think everyone kind of saw that as an angrier single. And since we're talking about all this, tragedy, again, I do have to ask, are the feelings of anger and almost regret from all these passings in the family related to Beware the Centrist with that almost angrier and um, I don't want to say confused, but almost like flurry of emotion sound?
I think so. I think when we wrote the lyrics to that one, it wasn't necessarily anything personal. It was mainly more of a political message to it. But I think in the execution of it, it was definitely influenced by our own personal frustration and things we were dealing with in our personal lives ended up bleeding over into how it ended up coming out. But yeah, the impetus of that one was yeah, very politically oriented in the beginning,
I love
but
it.
those things kind of go back and forth. The political is influenced by the personal and the personal is influenced by the political a lot of the time. Yeah, there's a lot of political stuff on the record that I don't think I would have written had my one of my uncles not passed away last year, because he was a big influence on my learning of family history and different things that are going on in the world now. And if he hadn't passed away, I don't think I would have taken that deep of a look at like what our family's past was.
Sure. Yeah. That's honestly incredibly interesting. I have to relate to you on that just because my uncle is also a pretty big influence, I think, on my politics because he was like the first really liberal or left-leaning person in our family.
Yeah,
We're all pretty left-leaning, but he was really, off the track, and that
yeah,
kind of really inspired me. So I love seeing that, and the name too, read it a punch in the gut, beware the centrist. A
Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful message, you know?
yeah, I appreciate that.
Of
Yeah, we try
course.
not to pull any punches, and we try to pull less punches as we age because, time becomes shorter and, you have to be more direct with, I don't know, if you're gonna change something, you gotta really drive it home.
Amen. And I think we've been seeing that in the New York City primary with the mayoral election. I'm wondering if you've been kind of paying attention to that and
Yeah,
what your opinion are on Zohan Mamdani.
I think it's great. I am really happy that he won. I think it's a really good sign that grassroots movement and like what I believe most people in the country really want to happen, which is a move towards progressive politics, is actually being recognized by like the existing establishment. I'm kind of a pessimist when it comes to the existing establishment. I was a pretty hard Democrat for a long time, and then I kind of lost faith with the system. Uh, it, and not that I would ever go go towards republicanism or right wing things, but I just kind of lost faith. And it's just a nice thing to see that there's some hope that they the people with the money who really make the choices in our country actually allowed something symbolic and good to happen recently. And hopefully it's more than just symbolic. Hopefully he can actually like accomplish some very, very good things.
Exactly. 100% agree. The whole symbolic thing that's been going on in like the circle of these rich billionaires kind of controlling everything really has annoyed me. And I agree with what you're saying, you know? The left has been so stuck in this stupid circle, like a roller coaster. Um, and it's nice to see someone get out of that. Also, like the freakouts that's been happening on these like right wing, politics channels and podcasts and everything, where they can't believe it. There's gonna be Sharia law. He's a Muslim. He's brown. It's crazy.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
they're terrified. And they should, they're terrified for the wrong reasons, but I think they should be terrified because they deserve to be terrified, those people. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, they have nothing to be afraid of in the sense of what they think is going to happen. The, those people are racist, Islamophobic, and yeah, they deserve to be afraid.
Exactly. I mean, especially because I feel like they haven't paid attention to what he's actually saying he's gonna do. Instead, they're
Exactly.
scared of the idea of what he may do, which,
Hmm.
like, again, is diabolical in my opinion, but,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hilarious. And speaking of, the title, in your mind, do you think centrists bring, like, a hope to politics? Or is that a kind of a thing where it's stealing votes from one side or the other?
Um, I think a lot of the time when I think of a centrist, it's more someone who is willing to accept the extreme things that happen on the right. That's what I mostly see these days. When someone claims they're centrist, that means they're okay with killing people because they're poor, but they're not okay with killing people because they're a different color than them. So they're more, I think they're more dangerous than, well, they're probably equally as dangerous as like right wing extremists, because they kind of come in this nice package. They get on the news and they talk in a suit and they can appear as a moderate, calm person, but what they're saying is almost as bad and pushing towards the right wing, the extreme, you know, cutting of Medicaid, cutting of life saving things for people who are not straight, sending aid to militaries in Israel, doing all these things that are horrendous, but they're seen as this like voice of reason, a central position in politics, when really they're really, if not far right, at least right and wrong at the same time.
It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
you see the politicians like Mitch McConnell, oh, they'll get
Hmm.
over it. No, like I don't think they understand how big that is for the middle class and below, you know?
Right,
It's
right,
insane. And the cutting of transgender benefits and medical needs and everything, it's the way I see it is they're not bothering you.
right,
And
exactly.
they make our creative spaces so much more beautiful and unique. So
Hmm.
why are we just like kicking them down like a neglected dog? It's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. It's kind of, I think it comes back to fundamentalist Christian extremists who think
Exactly.
that their belief is so strong that they can dictate life and death for other groups of people. And that's bad. That's horrible.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
The thing that I've been seeing, especially, I mean, I live in Georgia, right? So in the deep South is this like, again, funnily enough, almost like this communist, like strong fist of Christian faith, and I love it. I mean, no, wait, let me get to there. Like, I love going to church, right? I'm not Christian. I'm more atheist, and I was born in a Hindu household, but I love going to like different religions, um, like communities and seeing what's up. But in the Deep South, it's almost like you have to be Christian. And I don't know if you've seen in
Yeah.
Louisiana, the Ten Commandments are there's like a law being passed right now that they have to be put up in every single classroom. That's diabolical.
Yeah.
Like
It's
the
terrible.
separation of church and state is completely
Hmm.
blurred. In the South, it's already happening.
Yeah. Yeah. It's horrible. There's plenty of people who have no frame of reference for the Ten Commandments, have no interest in that, and they're forced to see that because they're of a certain age that has to go to school. It's just unfair. I
Exactly.
think, yeah, that kind of thing needs to stay out of there. And meanwhile, they're trying to ban books. That that's just absurd to me. That's a slippery slope to very bad situation in the country. Yeah.
No, it's funny. Like the same books they're banning are the books that foretold this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And again, it's crazy the way the way I was raised is people would tell me that Republicans want less government, and yet I'm seeing this government overreach in my community.
Hmm.
Um, like what? Hello?
Yeah.
What happened
Yeah.
to free speech? What happened to everything that I thought Republicans stood for in a
Yeah.
community which is majority Republican, in a state that's majority Republican, in a party United States which is like majority Republican. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absurd.
Well, again, I really appreciate y'all pushing on these political aspects on this new song, especially with the influence that y'all have over the youngins like myself, you know?
That's our hope. I feel like it'd be kind of, um, I don't know, it would feel like a waste of a chance to change people's minds, or if not even change their minds, just encourage the right thing in people. And I don't mean right politically, just encourage a positive force in society in whatever way we can. I think that there's a lot of somebody who's I read the final notes of this guy Willem von Spronson, who he martyred himself at a ICE detention facility by blowing it up, and he had written this beautiful final statement that influenced a lot of the lyrics, and it was so well written. He was in like a perfectly clear state of mind when he did what he did, and I don't think I'd ever do that, but or at least I wouldn't want to be on record saying that ever do that. But what he said in it was just so touching, and it made me think of. I shared it with the rest of the band, and we all were on the same page. Like, we might not be the kind of people who would blow ourselves up for a cause, but and the fact that we would add a "but" to that phrase is enough, I think, to scare off a lot of people. But we are going to do the best we can to change things. And if that means just going around and playing songs for people or putting songs on the internet for people to listen to, if that can do something, we're going to do it. And we can do our own things in our personal lives. But as a band, we have a lot more power than what we can do in our personal lives. Like, I can go and march. I can go and sabotage vehicles. I can go and, destroy property. I could do all these things that might land me in jail, or, there it's small potatoes when you consider like, oh, I could convince like 4,000 teenagers to be different, you know? That would be amazing. If I can convince one teenager to be different, I think that's great.
Well, you've already done that here, so I agree.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, of course. That's really is that's the goal, you know? I think with
Yeah,
everyone. So if you're watching to the viewers, go to local shows, support local bands. I think at least in Atlanta, the local scene is so united with our politics, with what we believe in, with what we stand in. You know, every shirt has some messages that I cannot put onto the internet,
yeah,
you know, but
yeah,
it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see high schoolers and teenagers come together when, if you look at it, kind of the generation before us kind of failed in that
yeah,
coming together, you know?
hmm yeah. There were
Well,
so many distractions, and they talk about the distractions of cell phones and things like that. But we're using cell phones, and the kids younger than me, of course, are using cell phones much more efficiently than I ever could. But the people before us, they were distracted by television, distracted by sports. I don't know, all these things that just existed, and they didn't meet in the same ways. They didn't have these I don't know, communities online where they could talk to people who didn't live in their town. I grew up in West Virginia, a pretty small rural place, and I didn't have. I started getting the internet when I was in high school, but like I didn't really, it wasn't the same back then. I didn't have it like it is now, so I think I kind of can see both sides a little bit to where like people who grew up with no internet have an entirely different brain than people who have the internet. And I think it's a there's good and bad to it, but there's obviously a lot that can change and a lot can be changed for the better with with technology.
exactly. I mean, the internet in my mind is an instrument, no different than like a
Mm-hmm.
guitar and a violin and everything.
Yeah,
And this is a topic that comes up frequently on my channel is the effects, whether it's positive or negative. And for teenagers, especially my generation, it's both. Because I
yeah,
know a lot of people that get sucked in by it and they get like it's almost like a meat grinder at like a
mm-hmm.
McDonald's.
Yeah,
Whole brains coming in, getting mushed up, chopped up, and formed into something else. And hopefully, most of the time, it's something good. It's something that maybe they're straying away from, the thoughts of their parents that may be more conservative or the community. But sometimes it can be bad. You know, I've seen friends that kind of go down this right-wing pipeline, and I'm not going to say anything. They're my friends. But
yeah,
sometimes it's just like, what is, hello?
right,
Like,
yeah.
what are we
Suddenly
doing
they
here?
suddenly they believe the clouds are hung up by balloons, and yeah,
Exactly. And it's sad. I don't blame them, right? The
right,
distrust of the society after everything that's happened over the past, decade since I've been born. It's
yeah,
like hello, like I don't blame them. Honestly, I don't blame them. But like it's what you're doing, kind of straying all of us hopefully in a more beautiful path.
yeah, yeah. That's the hope.
Well, okay, let's too heavy. Let's go to something a little bit fun, all
Sure,
right?
sure.
Um, on the last album, which again, incredible work.
Thank you.
Um, there's a lot of video game references, right? I remember looking
Mhm.
at a Reddit Ask Me Anything of you guys, and there were some questions about that. I
Yeah.
thought that was super interesting. On this album, are we continuing this trend of video game references?
Um, you know, Now that you mention it, I can't think of a single one on this album. I think at the time it was when we did Illusory Walls, I was playing a lot of video games and doing a lot of thinking about them while I was playing them. And so it was while I was thinking about writing the songs too and writing the lyrics for the songs. And so they kind of bled together in that way. And I don't think there's definitely not as much on the new one. I think the stuff I was ending up reading a lot more books when I was writing the words to this one, which I had kind of taken a few years off of reading books like wholeheartedly. I like to read a lot, and there was a good 2 or 3 years where I probably didn't finish a single book. I just was playing video games or doing other things, and so I kind of got back into books after the last record when we were on tour, playing those songs. I started buying books on tour and reading them, downloading books to my phone, reading them on my phone, and I think a lot more books got into me for this one than video games. But yeah, the video games really seeped in on the last one, especially Dark Souls.
I definitely want to. I have a PS5 that my brother bought. I can't really touch it, and I've got a Switch that I play Red Dead on. But
Yeah,
I want to play Dark Souls so badly, and like Elden
yeah.
Ring and all
Honestly,
these awesome games.
I started out playing I played video games when I was very young, and then I kind of got into them again by playing Dark Souls on Nintendo Switch. And it's probably not the best way to play it. Like the best way is, I don't know, whatever. I don't care about that kind of thing. But it was so much fun. Like well, I wouldn't say fun. It's very like a punishing game, but it's like I found it fun in like a kind of masochistic way where you're just dying constantly, and yet it gives you this feeling of like it doesn't matter if I die. I can just do this again and do this again, and it doesn't matter how many times I lose. At some point, I'm going to win. And I don't know, kind of motivated me in a way and helped me finish the record.
It's funny because I went through the same thing maybe 2 years ago. I got the new Zelda game,
Yeah,
not Tears of the Kingdom. Their name is like eluding me, but it's the
was
one
it
before Tears of the Kingdom.
Breath of the Wild?
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah,
Breath of the Wild, and I got it because all my friends were playing it. I got it. I remember over the summer, and every single time I'd be driving to my grandma's house every Sunday, I would take it with me and do a new boss fight
yeah.
because I couldn't ever do them at home because I would rage, I'd crash out, and in the car I found some semblance of peace, but that was like the first game I ever stumbled upon where it's like it's long term, it's a
Hmm.
pain in the ass, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle game, but I
Yeah,
loved it.
definitely. Yeah. Well, I think I would encourage you to try Dark Souls on Switch. It's easy on that platform because you can take it somewhere peaceful and play it. You don't have to, if
Exactly.
you get angry in your bedroom, you don't have to stay in your bedroom to keep playing it. And you can play it on the couch somewhere else, or, you know, take it on a train ride or something.
Yeah, yeah. I may just do that because when I actually DM'd you about doing an interview the first time, I was working a job. Like I just got off this Saturday, but for the past month I've been working at a summer camp. So
Ah,
I got my first paycheck on Saturday,
hey, that's
and who
great.
knows?
Nice.
May have to
Yeah,
just buy some Dark
congratulations.
Souls. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, here's a completely different topic now. Quahog Clam Jam 2. The
Yeah.
most crazy lineup ever I've ever seen. And you guys
Yeah.
were playing it. Tell me how that was, please.
It was amazing, honestly. I think so. I'm almost 40, so a lot of the bands I was unaware of. I just will admit that I am a little too old, but I kind of went into it with like, I don't know who any of these bands are. I don't know what this is going to be like. I'm sure it's going to be fun. Regular show. Get there, and it was amazing. It was one of the best times I've had at a show in a long time. It reminded me of being the age group that was there for that show. Because I used to go to shows when I was a teenager in similar types of places, like a big open room, 10 bands are playing in an afternoon, and you don't really know what's going on. And I don't know, I don't want this to be deprecating to the people I saw at that show, but a lot of the people there I felt like I could have related to in the past. There were a lot of people there who felt like this was the place they were coming, where nobody's gonna make fun of their shirt, nobody's gonna like tell them their hair isn't normal or something. This is like the place to go to be weird. And I don't want them to take offense, anybody to take offense of that. I value weirdness, and I am weird, and I've always been weird. And throughout my life, I've sought out places just like that where I could go and be weird and not have to care that I'm weird. And I saw that day that with so many of the people there, a lot of the people in the bands that were playing, I was like, this is so cool. I hadn't heard of them before because I'm too old, but the bands were great. We had a great time, and it was really an honor to see that kids who are weird like our band. Like that's who I want to like our band. Weird kids. I don't care if like a I don't know a jock or I don't know whatever. I jocks are fine. There's nice jocks. I don't mean to be mean to them either, but the people I really want to like our band are the kids that don't fit in. I never fit in. I feel like we still don't fit in, in some way. And yeah, I don't know. That's my people. So it was really cool to see a whole new generation of weird kids. It was awesome.
When you say that, I already know that you mean that in the best possible way. So don't even try apologizing for that. Like the first local show I went to was I think no, I don't think this band played that, but they've been like nationally touring this year. Rosemary Nods Upon the Grave. They were
Cool.
headliners. And I saw
Yeah,
them at this like small room called Mom Said It's Fine under the city of Atlanta. And that was like the first show I've ever been to where I was like, I felt included.
that's
And
awesome.
before that, I've seen so many shows. I saw like Elton John, Billy Joel, Lionel
Yeah.
Richie, Sheryl Crow, these big names,
Hmm.
but you don't feel at home anywhere else
Yeah.
like that than at a local show where
Yeah,
everyone's kind of
man.
like coming together, all walks of life, and all those shows, I don't know if you've realized, they're all, pay what you can.
Yeah.
If you don't have any money, walk in.
Yeah.
If you got 20
Yeah.
bucks, pay 20 bucks. 10 bucks, pay 10 bucks.
Yeah.
And I love that so, so much
Hmm.
because it's so inclusionary.
Yeah. That matters so much because, the people that would come to that show, there are a million boundaries for them in daily life. Cut out the rest. That you don't need more boundaries for them. They should just come on in, have a good time, act like you want to act, walk around, play on your phone if you want to play on your phone. Like I was talking to somebody who was like around my age at that show, and they were like, everybody's just kind of looking at their phones. Like, what's going on? I'm like, they're different. They're different. They want to look at their phones. I used to bring a book when I would go to like Thanksgiving at a relative's house. I would sit and read my book. Like that's the same thing, It's just somebody doing their own thing. Let them do their thing. There shouldn't be any kind of like, you know, uh, yeah, no boundaries for them. Just let it happen. Just
And
let people be what they are. Let them come on in and enjoy the show.
that's such a great way to look at it too, because so many people, especially like older adults, will look at the new generation on their phones and have such a negative attitude towards it.
Hmm.
But I love the way you put it. It's just the
Yeah,
new weird.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
And
it should be
sometimes you want to
accepted.
be weird with your phone, and instead of the weird with whoever's standing next to you for whatever reason they're standing next to you. Even
I
if they're your
love
best
that.
friend. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I run a label in Atlanta called Peg Like Records. I'm actually rocking our merch right now. And the
Nice.
camera's
That's a
kind of
great
bad.
design.
Oh, thank you.
That's a cool. Yeah.
But I noticed that you guys don't have an Atlanta show on this new tour. Is that
Yeah.
something? I know it's NDAs and whatever. Is that something that's in the works, or maybe like a potential thing to happen in the future?
Well, so the our plans for the fall are kind of still up in the air. We got added to the Between the Buried and Me tour, but it's only for a specific set of dates.
Uh-huh.
And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really know why it was only a certain set of dates or the rest of the thing. I think that, it's their tour, so they get to pick what happens. I don't know if I don't think it was on our end that we were like put on just
Uh-huh.
these ones or I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to talk out of turn or, but
Totally.
at some point we are planning on either doing an extension of our set of that tour for the rest of the fall to be able to come to places like Atlanta, the West Coast, things like that. And we're doing a festival in Texas and a festival in Florida in the fall too. So theoretically, we can book like a trip, yeah, and come through. I would love that. We're still kind of figuring out like what we're able to do because part of doing that tour, there are things that like if you say I don't know if this is the case with ours, but sometimes a tour will be like if you're playing a show here, you can't play within like a certain range of cities around it within a certain number of days, to keep people doing from hurting one show to serve another. But I don't know the facts behind that for our fall, like how that'll work. But I do know we are currently figuring out what we're going to be doing in the fall in addition to that. So we've announced that we're on that part of that tour, and we won't be with them for the rest of that tour. But we've been trying to figure out what we're going to be doing in the fall because we want to stay busy. We got a lot of stuff in the works. We have like a few options, and we're still kind of weighing them, and we're still waiting to hear back from other people about different things too. So there's unfortunately not much I can say about it right now
Of
because it's
course.
not even true yet. Like if I started describing what I knew, it would just be a mess of details that make no sense until like a week from now they all kind of form into one idea.
No, totally. Well, I appreciate you even just saying that, because I
Yeah,
was looking, I was doing some research, and I don't think you guys have played Atlanta for, it's got to be at least half a decade. Like, it's been a really long time, at least documented on Google.
I'm
Like,
trying to think. I feel like we played there with World's Greatest Dad from there. I think that might have been 20, 23, I
oh,
think.
okay, maybe not then.
And I know we played there with the Deer Hunter. That might have been 2021 or 2022, I think.
That's an awesome bill.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
us
well,
and Tanner Merritt from Oh Brother.
maybe Google was like tweaking with me, but if you ever want to do a DIY, something true to DIY,
I would
you
love
know,
that.
you know where I am.
I will hit you up about that because we love to play DIY shows. As many chances as we get, we will. If we're playing like a non DIY show and we have a day off, sometimes we use the opportunity of the day off to play a DIY show. We did that a year or two ago in London. We played like a sold out show at like this cool venue, and it was like fun and all that. But it was just like a regular show.
Sure.
But then the next night we played like a show that didn't get announced until that previous night. We on stage. We were like, tomorrow night we're playing at this like little bar, and it was a bar with like barely a PA. The guys that worked there were great. They did a great job with the little PA. But
Uh,
like, it's a small place, a small little basement, and it was so much fun. Everybody was just sweating. It was just a DIY show, and I love DIY shows. Yeah, that's my favorite kind of show. So yeah, hopefully if we are doing this trip in the fall that I think we're going to end up doing, then hopefully there will be a way that we could do either just a DIY show or a regular show. Regular, I don't know why I use, you know what I mean,
yeah,
and a DIY show. Yeah, I would
sure.
love
Well,
that.
I would love that too, because I see the vision, right? Hear me out. There's a
Yeah.
place in Atlanta called the Murph. It's the multi-use radical people's hall. So it's like
Cool.
this awesome, all-inclusive, it's like a garage. And we have the PA. Let's get a bunch of awesome local bands together.
Yeah,
Um, like $5, $10 tickets, charity. We'll donate the money to somewhere, get everyone together. It'd be pretty awesome. And I love that bands are always so open to do this, like Versus Self. I had them
yeah,
on the show a couple months ago and they were down to do something.
that's awesome.
So I appreciate that. And even if you don't go with us, just having something DIY is always
Yeah,
incredible.
I will definitely keep you in mind. I'm not the one in the band who like actually makes the plans, but everybody talks to each other. So I will mention this to everybody, and whoever is like figuring out the details and stuff, yeah, I'm gonna encourage them to try and go through you for something like this because it
Oh,
seems really cool. Yeah,
thank
I
you.
would love
Yeah.
that.
Like shameless plug, Peg Leg Records. We only do charity shows.
Hell
Um,
yeah,
we try to get a bunch of bands. We do mixed bills, um,
that's awesome. I love
all
mixed bills.
inclusive. Yeah, that's like in Atlanta. So since we're talking about this, I'll tell you about our scene, right?
Yeah.
Atlanta is incredible, but we have a little bit of a problem with bookers only booking one genre.
Hmm.
So like I said, I went to that show in January. I was blown away, and I
Yeah.
decided to start this with some friends where we do only like edge of the spectrum on one night for the cheapest we can do, and then anything like left over from paying the bands will go to a cause that the audience decides.
That's awesome.
So like the
That's
first
really
one
cool.
was to like the homeless. The one that we're doing in July is to Gaza, you
That's
know? So
great.
just doing
Yeah.
little things to help where we can.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That's my little spiel, you know?
That's very cool. I will definitely keep you guys in mind.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we're gonna do a little bit another switch back
Sure.
to one of the questions that they asked you on the Reddit that I
Cool.
thought was also interesting and maybe applicable to now. Someone asked you, what was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the latest internet rabbit hole you went down. And I forgot what you were talking about. It was like internet meme videos or something. What's like the latest one that you've gone through now?
So I go through a lot of internet rabbit holes. I get like a special interest and I go for it for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And lately it's been um, people who critique um, podcasts. They'll take like mainstream podcasts like Joe Rogan or I don't even know these like Theo Vaughn, these like very mainstream podcast guys, and they'll just watch them for like 15 minutes. What take like a 15-minute clip of their show and then just analyze every single thing that happens in it and make fun of them, and they'll just roast them. Um, some of them are better than others. Some of them are a little are equally as problematic as the people that they're making fun of, but some of them are just very funny and they just like rip into these guys who are like, you know, I a year or two ago I never would have considered Joe Rogan like a serious figure in like mainstream media, but he's like one of the most well-paid media people in the nation. He probably makes more money than most of the people that work at like CNN. Like he is a mainstream media person. So like seeing these people critique them is, I don't know, it's just entertaining. I can't say I'd recommend this rabbit hole. It's not that it's like entertaining in the way that it kind of helps me fall asleep because nothing they're talking about is important. Like there's no stakes in what they're talking about. They're just
Yeah,
making fun of like, oh look, his table is messy today, things like that. Or like, oh,
sure.
it looks like he's angry at this guy for some reason, little
Yeah,
petty arguments that they get in, but it's just kind of like mildly entertaining. But there are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels where that's just all they do, and it's a whole world out there of that. And I'm not trying to really get involved with it, but it's a pretty entertaining rabbit hole to go down.
yeah. I will have to go down. I mean, I've seen that with like talking Talk Tua. If you know, like the Talk Tua girl, they had like
Oh
a
yeah.
whole thing making fun of her. I don't want to cut this awesome conversation off, but the freaking Zoom people only give me
Oh
40
right.
minutes, and I can't
I
pay
got
for
you.
extra. Yeah. So I just want to
Yeah.
say thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed
Yeah.
this. I thought this was an awesome conversation.
Yeah. This was great. I really appreciate you taking the time with me.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you responding. I just like again, incredible. I'm so excited for August 22nd. I'm so excited for everything y'all are doing in the fall. And hopefully that concert comes together. We can get a bunch of cool out-of-state bands. Let's do like instead of Quahog Jam, we can do Atlanta Jam.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I would love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Now Zoom is stop telling me how much time I have. Less than a minute. That's a problem. Um,
All right.
you
Thank
have
you
a
so
wonderful
much.
day.
You too. I appreciate it.